A Life Rewritten by a Stroke. Pontine Hemorrhage, Lifestyle Science, and Unexpected Cognitive Growth, number 1439, November 16, 2025. Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation. Category: Stroke, Self-Reflection and New Learning. On June 21, 2025, I suffered a hemorrhagic stroke in the pons area of my brainstem. This is one of the most dangerous places in the human body for a bleed. The pons controls breathing, heart rate, swallowing, alertness, and the major pathways that connect the brain to the body. Even a small hemorrhage here can destroy life support functions within minutes and often leads to death or severe disability. The MRI image attached at the end of this article confirms this location clearly. In the axial scan, the pons sits between the two cerebellar hemispheres. The small dark round spot I circled in red lies exactly inside the belly of the pons. This appearance matches a micro-hemorrhage with hemosiderin deposition. Hemosiderin deposition means that old blood left behind iron particles. After the bleed, when a vessel breaks, blood leaks out, the body cleans it up, and the iron stays behind in the form of a dark, iron-rich pigment. On MRI, this iron shows up as a dark spot. It is simply the scar marker of an old bleed. The fact that my hemorrhage occurred in this precise, pontine location makes my survival medically exceptional. Through 4 months of post-stroke research, I discovered that the root cause of my event was not chronic hypertension. It was the long-term internal mechanical damage, created by 20 years of uncontrolled diabetes. From 1990 to 2009, I relied on medication only, without meaningful lifestyle changes. These medications lowered my glucose numbers to some degree, but they did not repair or reverse the deeper pathological deterioration occurring inside my vessels. Over those years, stiff, brittle, and nearly irreversible vascular calcification formed inside the tiny capillaries of my pons. My VMT analysis showed that about 91% of the total viscoplastic energy burden came from this earlier 20-year medication-only period. By contrast, the following 16 years, from 2010 to 2025, when I used lifestyle management only and took no medications, contributed only 9%. This means the structural weakness that led to my stroke was created decades earlier. The final trigger occurred on June 21, 2025, when an emotional surge pushed my systolic blood pressure to 175 mm of mercury. This sudden spike acted like a hammer striking a fragile glass tube. A healthy artery might have tolerated it, but a calcified capillary with one endothelial layer and no elasticity could not absorb the force. It ruptured instantly. In VMT terms, long-term diabetes built the irreversible weakness, and acute hypertension pulled the trigger. My survival was extremely unlikely. Pontine hemorrhage often causes immediate death, loss of consciousness, respiratory failure, or permanent paralysis. Yet I survived without motor deficits, speech difficulty, swallowing problems, or breathing impairment. My only deficit was temporary memory loss lasting about 3 months. The doctors guessed that my temporary memory loss might have resulted from the multiple seizures I experienced after the stroke. I did not fully understand the danger until later, and the truth shocked me. What happened next was even more unexpected. My cognitive ability did not decline. It improved. During the first 90 days, the golden recovery window, I focused on restoring clarity and memory using a self-designed program based on repetition and mental exercise. Then, in early October, something unexpected yet remarkable happened. I began thinking about topology again, a subject I learned 58 years ago at age 20 but had not used in decades. Soon afterward, stochastic concepts returned naturally. 48 years after I studied them at UC Berkeley, these fields integrated smoothly into my medical research, adding new geometric, probabilistic, and structural insights. My thinking continued to expand. I extended my research into psychology, economics, social science, zoology, life journey analysis, and the viscoplastopology. VPT, interpretation of my 45-year entrepreneurial pathway. These new directions were never part of my plan before June 21, 2025. My post-stroke brain now shows stronger pattern recognition, broader conceptual integration, and deeper creative insight. I even realized that my neuroplastic recovery felt similar to semiconductor integrated circuit design, where millions of transistors and multi-millions wires reconnect through artificial intelligence algorithms, something I worked on from 1991 to 2002. This experience also clarified my medical history. My life is divided into 2 eras. The first 20 years relied on medication only, and created 91% of my vascular calcification damage. The next 16 years relied entirely on lifestyle and reversed, to a significant degree, or stabilized many conditions that medications never fixed. Lifestyle management lowered inflammation, stabilized glucose, improved vascular flexibility, reduced visceral fat, and decreased internal viscoplastic energy of organ diseases. Medications controlled numbers, lifestyle changed biology. Interestingly, when I use the same input stress data, but change the output strain from organ-based disease, CVD, CKD, stroke, to cellular-based disease, cancer risk, the energy split became 55% from the earlier 20 years and 45% from the recent 16 years. This makes sense because cancers originate from irreversible cell mutations, while organ-level diseases are more reversible since organs consist of many cells. My observations are not emotional or cynical. They come from big data, clear logic, rigorous science, and lived experience. I am not attacking healthcare or pharmaceuticals. I am describing what I see as an independent thinker trained in mathematics, physics, engineering, computer science, artificial intelligence, psychology, and biomedical research. Large systems naturally emphasize medication because it is easier to prescribe, easier to measure, and consistent with existing economic structures. Lifestyle receives less attention even though it is often more effective, and even though swallowing a pill is easier than controlling food, exercising daily, sleeping well, and reducing stress. But lifestyle improves health from the bottom up, while medication usually improves only the numbers on the surface. I have no financial interests, institutional associations, or external pressure. As a scientist, my insights come from data science, pattern recognition, AI, mathematics and physics-based modeling, and my own fight for survival. Medications controlled my biomarkers, but they did not prevent the calcification that eventually ruptured inside my brain. Lifestyle saved my life. It kept my body strong enough to survive one of the most lethal neurological events. It gave me clarity and cognitive strength to grow intellectually, rather than decline. For my personal case, without my lifestyle efforts during the last 16 years, there would have been a very high probability of death before age 70. This is not fortune telling, it is a science-based calculation. In summary, decades of medication-only management laid the groundwork for my stroke. 16 years of lifestyle-only management protected me, preserved my primary organ functions, and enabled unexpected cognitive expansion. My Pontine hemorrhage was caused by diabetes-induced microvascular calcification and triggered by an acute emotional blood pressure spike. The MRI confirms the location unmistakably. My survival was unlikely, yet what followed was transformation. My VPT framework now connects medicine, social science, biology, life history, and human behavior into a unified system, something I could not have achieved before June 21, 2025. This stroke became the second calling of my life. The first calling came in 2010, after 5 heart attacks and near kidney failure, pushed me into medical self-research. The second calling from this stroke may lead me into an even more profound and unexpected direction. Disclaimer: I write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only, and does not constitute medical or financial advice. No doctor-patient or advisor-client relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.